Hello, my name is Achim Steiner. I am currently the director of the Oxford Martin School at the University of Oxford, looking at the 21st century challenges. In my message to you today, I would like to focus on the notion of hope and why, as a young person looking at the world today, you have many reasons to be hopeful, even if you have also many reasons to be concerned. When you look at the news, when you look at science, when you look at what is happening across our planet, there are indeed many reasons why we should be worried about what happens next. But this is perhaps the most important message to any young person. What happens next is, in part at least, also dependent on what you do. Therefore, as you look at issues and as you look at becoming more engaged, becoming ambassadors for the planet, looking after the environment, spreading the message about the value of our ecosystems, our ability to reduce pollution, let me share a few thoughts and insights on what I think can work best in doing that. First of all, yes, let us face the facts, and the facts are very serious, and being able to explain those facts to your peers, your friends, whether it is in class, in school, in your family or in your community, may sometimes require you to think carefully about how to present them, because if the only message you give is one of hopelessness and doom and gloom, you've already lost most of the people you're actually trying to get involved. So try and present facts in a context of, but it doesn't have to be like this. It's certainly a lesson I have learned over the years. Secondly, also present solutions alongside the problems that you present, because what we really want to achieve is a collective change of direction. When 7 billion people individually start doing something differently, it adds up to solving the problem, because it is 7 billion people sometimes doing the wrong thing today that has led us into some of our social and environmental and economic crises that we face. Thirdly, as you present solutions, try and also break them down from the abstract of, for example, decarbonizing our energy system to what is it that you and I can do as we walk out of this room together in the areas where we can actually make a difference, whether it is in your home, in your place of work, or in the community hall. There are already things that each one of us can do to, for instance, reduce carbon footprint. Trees, as you know better than most, can be planted almost anywhere in the world. You don't need to be a landowner to find a place in which you can put your energy and your community spirit to actually plant trees, look after them, and begin to expand what is nature's way of trying to capture and store carbon. We all know that we have to massively expand forest cover across our planet, but it doesn't happen only in economists' office or in the Prime Minister's cabinet meetings. It happens when people actually go out and start planting trees, and when 7 billion people start planting tree after tree, yes, then we can make a difference. Now, that's not to say that the power of the individual is absolute and we can change everything through individual actions. And that's where the second focus of our work must be. How do we bring people together, communities, but also sometimes actors from different fields? Young people can work with politicians. Businesses can work with community organizations. Together, they bring capacities that, if they're aligned and committed to change, can make an enormous amount of difference. So trying to organize our community in terms of different actors and their potential contributions is also a very important part. And this is true whether you live in the United States, in Japan, in Brazil, in South Africa, or indeed anywhere else on this planet. It is the context that will define your opportunity to act. But let me point for a moment also to Africa. Many people have argued for a long time that renewable energy technologies, photovoltaic panels, wind turbines, geothermal power, is too expensive. It's the luxury of the wealthy that can rely on that kind of electricity generating capacity. The truth in recent years has turned out to be the opposite. On the African continent today, renewable energy technology has actually become a shortcut for people to even have access to electricity, because many people do not know that amongst the 1 billion citizens on the African continent today, probably 650 million still do not have access to any form of modern electricity. Now, solar panels, off-grid technology suddenly has become a way in which people can gain access to electricity for the first time, and secondly, begin to develop an entire energy infrastructure on the African continent that will allow not only soon 1.5 billion African citizens to have energy, but actually to produce it without the carbon footprint that many of the more industrialized societies have created over the last 100, 200 years. But it's not only in technology that we can find solutions. We need to understand how nature works, and planting trees is certainly one very immediate act in which we can not only create more vegetation in the broader sense of the word across the planet, but when we plant trees, we start protecting landscapes, we start getting benefits for the community. Often in cities, people forget that it is the most expensive property that is located next to the small green areas that are left in our cities, whether it is New York Central Park, whether it is London's Hyde Park, or many other of the green parks around the big cities in the world. People actually do appreciate nature and their access to it. So how can we expand also the appreciation for expanding the protection that we give to nature and making it part of the solution of many 21st century issues? As I began my talk to you, I emphasized the notion of giving people also hope and scope for doing things. As we see right now in a world where last year over 60 million people were either forced to flee their country or were displaced by natural disasters and conflict, we are living in some very depressing times, particularly for those who have nothing left but to flee the place in which they have lived, because also apart from conflict and natural disasters, education systems collapse, health systems collapse. And what do parents do at the end of the day when they cannot ensure that their child can go to school, that their sick children can be treated? They have to leave. Our world is struggling in its capacity to respond to this enormous movement of people. And for those of you who will argue about the consequence of environmental change and damage, do focus on the implications of a world that will not change course, because 60 million could turn into 100 million and perhaps 500 million people in the future. It will tear not only societies apart from where people are forced to leave, but it will also cause major tensions amongst nations. We must learn to live together with 7 and soon 10 billion people on this planet, and much of that will depend on you, young people who take an interest, who become active, who bring others into the fold and begin to make the change happen that will allow us to live perfectly well in the year 2050 with 10 billion people on this planet. But not if we continue to run our economies the way we do today. We disregard nature in terms of how we are using it up, and also how we are poisoning ourselves and this planet through the pollution footprint that we are creating. So, notwithstanding all of the challenges and all of the bad news, try and look in your neighborhood and in your communities for examples of how people have changed the way they do things, because actually change is happening everywhere, and it is often young people who are making that change happen. Here at the University of Oxford, it's just one more example of how thousands of students and faculty are researching and working and studying solutions that will one day allow us to also make the kind of technology breakthroughs that 20, 30 years ago seemed impossible. We are part of your community, and I hope that through whatever you can do next, you will also make us part of that solution. I wish you all the best. Thank you.